Welcome. We've got America's government teacher, Sharon McMahon here, who is fortunate for us, unfortunate for New York City. Her flight was canceled, and so she's got the time to be with us today instead of at her scheduled event to tell us what the process for replacing Chuck Schumer would be should one exist, hypothetically, just in case anybody out there in D.C. was wondering.
Just in case senators are themselves Googling.
Yeah.
How does this work?
Don't Google. We're here to tell you. We'll hold your hand through it.
That's right. So the process for electing a Senate minority leader or a majority leader is different than electing a Speaker of the House. The one Speaker of the House, is voted on by everyone in the House. Mm-hmm. That's not the case when it comes to conference leaders in the Senate. So these roles of Senate majority and minority leader are not specified in the Constitution the way the Speaker of the House is. These are just roles that the parties actually invented for themselves. They didn't exist until the end of the 19th century, and they make their own rules about them. So they could change the rules anytime they wanted, but I can tell you what the rules are as they stand today about how to get rid of somebody and get somebody new if that was what somebody wanted to have happen. Just in case any senators are watching this and are looking for an exit ramp. The way that it works is the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, is the conference chair for the Democrats and the people who conference with the Democrats. So the two independents in the Senate who conference with Democrats. And in order to oust him, there would need to be a percentage of the conference, meaning a percentage of the Democrats, who would ask for an official meeting. And that percentage is like 20%.
Oh, not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot.
So how many is that?
It's 20? Like 10 people.
10 people.
Yeah, 9 to 10 people. I don't know exactly if I did the math. It's like 9.4 people. I don't know if that is a round up or round down.
Yeah, we'll say 10 for fun.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules say about rounding, but let's say 10 people. 10 people would need to ask the conference chair for a special meeting of the conference, and they would need to have an agenda attached to that special meeting. So they would have to tell him, our meeting is about you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to meet we're meeting to discuss you. Okay. So then the rules say that the conference chair, again, in this case, Chuck Schumer, has 3 days to set this meeting. And that's as long as the Senate is in session, and he does not have control over whether the Senate is in session or out of session. That is not controlled by him.
Are they in session now, even with the shutdown, though? Is this considered in session?
They are in session, yes. Okay. The House is not in session, but the Senate's in session.
Okay, all right. Yes. So we're there. It could happen.
Yeah, it's in session. So then he would have 3 days to schedule this meeting. And once the meeting happens, everything would take place behind closed doors. None of this would be C-SPANable. This would all be like we would get the tea from a leaker later. Okay. We would not be able to watch it happen live.
That's probably fair. That's probably okay. Sure.
Once the meeting happens, they would have to tell Senator Schumer, we don't have confidence in your leadership, and they would have to nominate somebody to replace him. And then they can have a vote on whether or not Senator Bob should replace Senator Chuck. I'm just making these up. Yeah. We should vote to replace him instead of having this guy. In order to make the replacement happen, all they would need is a simple majority. A simple majority of the Democrats.
So now we need 25 people.
Yeah, less than 25 people because there's 47 Democrats and independents that caucus with the Democrats in the Senate. So you need like 24 people. 24 people to say, we want this person instead of this person.
Now, will they lobby for that? Well, let's say Klobuchar and Chris Murphy, just to pull people out. Would they be like, hey, since we've decided to, we have no confidence in Chuck, I'd like to raise my hand, or anybody can just raise their hand and say, I'd like to speak?
Anyone can say, I would like to do it. They can try to make deals behind the scenes. They can say, when we go into the meeting, please vote for me. They absolutely can lobby for themselves, and other people, of course, can lobby for them instead. I see some people saying, Chris Murphy, please. I know some people would like to see, and there's obviously a variety of viewpoints on this, but some people would like to see somebody a little less establishment, a little more more
Yeah.
progressive. Somebody would like to see somebody with a little bit younger. Like there's reasons to keep Chuck Schumer, and there's reasons if you're the Democrats to want to get somebody different. I understand this is not a cut and dry if you are a Democrat in the Senate.
Mm.
But that's legitimately the entire process is
As you
request
said.
the formal meeting,
Yeah.
set the agenda, get the meeting going behind closed doors, nominate somebody to replace him, get 24 people to get on board with replacing him.
So he could hypothetically, let's say somebody did this today or tomorrow, right? He could technically, they could have done we don't want Chuck Schumer to be the leader part by Friday. And then it could be, just how long do you think it would take to get a new leader elected? They try to do that pretty quick, I guess.
I would assume they would work on it quickly, and I would also assume that chances are good that they would not actually ask for the meeting until they had a pretty
They knew.
solid idea of who they would like to have replace Chuck Schumer.
Hmm.
And they would have to kind of coalesce around an alternate candidate
Sure.
is my assumption. Otherwise, what are you having a meeting for and just like wasting
Right.
everybody's time yelling about things?
Right.
You can yell at Chuck Schumer without going through this process, right? Like you don't need to actually call a meeting. You can just be like, I don't like you. So that would be my guess is that they would need to be having these internal conversations about who would be a more effective leader. And this is one of the challenges is that the United States Congress works on a seniority basis. He has been in
I
the
know.
Senate for such a long time. He has made so many, he's built so many relationships that it would be difficult to replace his institutional knowledge with
Mhm.
somebody newer and younger because he has led the Senate Democrats for so long. He does like there is this element of like a bird in the hand
Yeah.
is worth two in the bush. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there is that element of, yeah, but is so and so going to be any better? I don't know. So I don't know that it actually will be that easy of a process to convince 24 people to get behind somebody else instead, but it's not certainly not outside the realm of possibility.
Well, here's where I'm at with that, right? Because in an ideal world, right, like the youngest, most progressive person becomes the new leader, but that's not going to happen, right? We're still working sort of one foot in the establishment, one foot towards this new version of the party, which is why my pick is Amy Klobuchar. Not because I like super love Amy Klobuchar or whatever, but she's been proven to be able to work multiple different parts of the party. And she's a tough ass bitch, man. And she she just is. You know what I mean? Like she has a certain kind of
Longtime
like
prosecutor.
resilience.
Yeah.
She's got a little tough edge that I think she could take the heat of being the party leader without
Mhm.
necessarily ruining her brand, if that makes sense, right? For
Yeah.
the way that the new ski people are kind of coming to it. And she's not so young that the older senators are going to feel like, oh, we're getting totally kicked out. I feel like she's a good
Yeah.
like middle guy.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, that she has enough life and
Yeah.
life experience and career experience, like, as a longtime prosecutor,
Right.
that she has this kind of no-nonsense approach to her, where she's just like, "We're not doing it that way. That's not what's
Right.
happening." Where she does have enough, like, presence,
Mm.
on the Senate's floor
Yeah.
to command control of what's happening. So I think your instincts are, right in leaning towards somebody like Amy Klobuchar. I can see some people really thinking like she's still too representative of that, more old guard of the Senate.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that the younger progressive Dems in the Senate, they don't have the quantity of numbers
Right.
to be able to just be like, y'all are done. Get out of here.
Right.
And then you also have to keep in mind that, a third of these people are up for reelection next year, and they
Mhm.
do have to consider their position in the party, and if
Mhm.
they're going to betray Chuck Schumer, air quotes, betray him, what that might do if they lose their bid to oust him, what that might do to their committee assignments, and if their reelection bids. One of the reasons Chuck Schumer continues to maintain leadership in the Senate is because he is very good at getting people elected.
Mhm.
He is good at helping people retain their seats and,
Mhm.
picking up as many seats as possible if you're a Democrat, you like that. Um, so other people are not as known a quantity,
Yeah.
and they might feel like we got to do everything we can to maintain our numbers, and that means putting up with somebody I don't prefer as much. Then I'll stick with Chuck. I think it's a hard sell, but I do think Amy Klobuchar is a
She's a
potential for
compromise for
somebody.
this,
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
step. It's a stepping stone,
Mhm.
right? It's like, oh, it's not so far off from where we are, but it is forward at least somewhat, and it's somebody
And
different.
she has other leadership roles
Yeah,
in the Senate, so she's not an unknown. And
she's not in
she's
opposition to Chuck either, where she's
yeah,
like a Chuck hater, where it's going to
right.
seem like personalities.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that where they get along. They seem to get along fine, which is also because they seem to get along fine. Yet another reason why she might have second thoughts about wanting to oppose him.
Right.
You know,
Here's what
there's
I'll say
that.
from the creator world, which the establishment Democrats in the trad media world have this very long-standing sort of clock in, clock out relationship where, yeah, they Chuck Schumer, Booker, Keem Jeffries, they could go on the Jen Psaki show, they could go on CNN, they could say what they want to say, and they could go home, and it's sort of like business as usual. When it comes to the digital media and creators, I don't know, man. There is no way that I can get there's no way that I can get people excited about the Democratic Party if they don't see a change in leadership, especially after the big blue wave that was on Tuesday, because people feel like, wow, we are seeing change. We are being included. And then in the federal world, especially with this potentially caving to the Republicans thing, they're like, but we're not in the federal world. They're not including us there. They don't get us there. Hakeem Jeffries just held what they called the first creator briefing, which is wild because I've been to at least 10 of these. So I don't know why they're trying to be like, it's the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been like, haven't we been doing this since Biden, for a long time?
yeah,
Anyway, they did this creator one, and I was really proud of the folks in the room because so often, when you get invited to that kind of stuff, there's a level of intimidation that you might not ever get invited again. So you kind of want to show that you're professional.
yeah.
And they were very professional, but they took no shit. I mean, Jeffries wasn't answering the questions, and they were like, that's not answering the question. They were like, what even makes you think that you can be the face of affordability? And I was really proud of that. Where I wonder if the establishment will factor in at all is the folks who are sort of very responsible for new voters and digital engagement cannot work with this team. You just
Mm.
can't. You cannot get people online to see Chuck Schumer's legacy when they feel like he's failing them, you know?
So from your perspective as somebody who does a lot of engagement with, Gen Z and with
Mhm.
other, younger voters, with voters in traditionally marginalized groups, like from your perspective, they really, in order to get excited about the Democrats, they are telling you they want to see a change in leadership, like they're tired of the establishment.
Very much so, and this isn't even just this recent. I would say that this really kicked up when Kamala Harris lost last year. It started with, I gave it one more chance with the way that things are, and it didn't work out, and I don't like the Democratic Party, and I feel like they didn't fight hard enough or whatever, all of these complaints, and we've sort of been able to introduce people to things like the Working Families Party, right? Like, you don't have to go full, try to start a whole new party. Working Families Parties, progressive values, caucuses with the Democrats, runs really progressive people in primaries, but eventually sort of falls into the Big Tent. And people have left Working Families Party. They like Malcolm Kenyatta from the DNC side. So they're like, I like that guy. I feel like he's sort of getting me and understanding what's going on. There is no way that I can have a reasonable conversation with Chuck Schumer in a digital space for these audiences without them feeling gaslit or placated or sort of like, oh, you're just here for a quick second, but you're not going to change anything. You always promise us, but you don't treat us with respect type stuff. Not that he's ever been disrespectful to me. I'm just saying the audience perception is very why are we doing this?
Yeah.
They're much more excited to see people like Chris Murphy or even Klobuchar does very well with digital. John Ossoff does well with digital, I think, because he's so damn handsome. You just can't help but love him, the little cutie
He is
from
cute.
Georgia.
He's
He's a
cute.
little
Uh-huh.
cutie.
Mhm.
So, I think,
Do you
and
view
it's
this
not that you have to just be good at digital, but I think when it comes to establishment Democrats, we can't. I don't think we
Yeah.
can.
V, do you view this as a personal Chuck Schumer issue where he's like, I don't got time for that. I don't got time for this internet stuff. That's my terrible Chuck Schumer impression. Is that your impression? Like, is it Chuck Schumer specifically
No.
or is it like the entire Dem leadership team in the Senate?
I think it's the Dem leadership team in the Senate because, one, you're talking about folks who are at an age, like, let's say over 65. They're not digital native. They're not community members. So when they show up here, it's a little like your teacher showing up to the school dance. You're like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
cool moves, man. Like
Yeah.
it's out of touch
Yeah.
with that. And I think also it it doesn't people want to see peer leadership. I've talked about this with why Lauren Boebert gets voted in to stuff, and it's because she's able to position herself as a divorcee who survived domestic abuse, has kids, understands your struggles, came from nothing, made something of herself. And general people who aren't politics nerds like us see her and go, "Oh, she looks about my age and she's got my struggles." When you're dealing with people who all we really hear about them at the, normie level is that they make so much money in stocks and they've held their office since the 80s and stuff, it's a little
Yeah.
harder to, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
comrade
I
with
get it.
them.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. For everybody who's just joining us, we started this conversation by talking about like what it would take to to replace Chuck Schumer as Senate Minority Leader. And here's the super brief gist, just in case you just joined us. 20% of the Democratic conference in the Senate, in 9, 10 people, would have to request a special meeting with an agenda, meaning they have to tell Chuck Schumer, we want a meeting about replacing you. He then, by the rules, has 3 days to schedule that meeting. I don't know how much time he has to schedule the meeting, meaning like if he sets the meeting in like, well, I scheduled it in 3 days, but the meeting's 9 months from now. I
Oh,
couldn't tell you the answer to that question. What the internal rules say about how much time they have to actually conduct the meeting. But at the meeting, which is behind closed doors, they would have to nominate a replacement, and then a simple majority of just the Democrats would have to vote to replace him. So about 24 Democrats would have to say, we want this person instead of this person. And V was just saying that she thinks, or that they think that Amy Klobuchar is perhaps a better option
yeah.
because Amy Klobuchar helps bridge the gap between sort of this Democratic old guard Chuck Schumer type figure and the more progressive wing of the party that is younger and wants things to be more substantially different than they are now. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's what we were
That's
just
what we're
discussing.
keying on.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's a tricky
Also,
time. And to go back to your question, do I think it's like a Chuck Schumer personality thing digitally? No, I think it just has entirely to do with the fact that people feel like the Democratic Party is not working for them right now. And so they want to see a change. It's just like football, right? The Bills lost for shit on Sunday and everybody wants the coach out now.
mhm,
It's the same idea that, yes, it's the players to some level, but it's also the coach and the ownership. And I think at this point we see it is maybe like a relief valve would be Chuck Schumer stepping down and allowing somebody else to get a shot. Well, that's going to give us a little relief, maybe a little more trust, maybe a second chance with a lot of the public who
sure,
simply will not get on board with what's been going on. And
sure.
I don't blame them.
And also, Chuck Schumer could choose to be like, I'm going to step down for the
Yeah.
good of the party. It's a little bit like after Watergate, when people went to Richard Nixon and they were like, "You are going to get impeached, and you are going to get thrown out of this office, or you can step down."
Yeah.
And he was just like, I, for the good of the country, will step down. So it's also possible that a growing movement could build behind this idea of replacing Chuck Schumer, and he would see the writing on the wall and be able to go out on his own terms and be able to help select his replacement, which of
Yeah. Of
course he would like the opportunity to do, no question. He'd like to be able to have a hand in who replaces him.
course.
So there's also that chance of if
Maybe that's the way.
he sees enough pressure building, he
Mhm.
could theoretically choose to step aside and throw his weight behind somebody else.
We'll see, because we know that the man only has a flip phone, so he surely does not see firsthand any of the social media discourse. He maybe sees some of the stuff on TV, but probably not. And so, it comes down to him believing his staffers and his, allies in the Senate to say, like, hey, this is sort of what it's looking like. This would be the best move to help us out and do whatever. But I think, if he looks at what Pelosi did in saying, I'm not going to run for reelection right now, it saves your legacy just a little bit, Chuck. It does
Mhm.
make it
To
look a
go
little
out on
bit
your own terms.
went on your own terms, same as Biden, right? Like, you could regret it later. You could say whatever you want about people afterwards, but I think it's just at this point, it's too hard. And I don't know that Trump respects Chuck Schumer. He's made a meme of him. He's made a joke of him in such a way that I'm not even totally sure that his leadership with the Democrats, even if we were able to save face with them, is actually effective against Donald Trumpism right now. Like, who could go in there and, not be clowned by him in some way? Like, what would that relationship look like? And I think
Well, once all of this, once all of these, this vote is finally, finalized and they have a bill to send back to the House, so the House
Warren,
can.
somebody's saying Elizabeth Warren. I would give you Elizabeth Warren
I
as a
think a lot
leader.
of progressives would like Elizabeth Warren. I think the old guard of the,
They would freak
Dem
out.
establishment is not ready for Elizabeth
That's
Warren.
why I said Klobuchar, because her and Warren work pretty good. I was like, okay,
But the House is going to have to get called back into session after 11 weeks off.
yeah,
Must be nice to get paid to do nothing. And then Mike Johnson is going to have to seat Adelita Grijalva. Like he is going to have no
so he does
option.
have to do that when they come back to session.
Well, he has to at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's not a.
Think he's going to let the Epstein stuff go? He's like, whatever. I think people are over it enough that we'll release whatever
No,
Epstein
I
files.
think I think the lawsuits against, the lawsuits that have been filed, by the Arizona
Yeah,
Attorney
they're
General, et
not
cetera,
suing her.
like those are going to continue proceeding. That's, time and money and effort and attention that the
Yeah,
House really can't afford to spend right now.
right.
Somebody who's duly elected to the seat. There's been some speculation, that there's an upcoming special election, and that a
In
Republican
Tennessee,
is,
right?
in Tennessee is like a Republican is highly likely to win that seat. And so there's been some speculation that he will wait until the outcome of that special election in December in an
Yeah.
effort to keep the percentages the same so that they don't have, the Epstein stuff they don't get a leg up on the Epstein files by seating her. But the jungle drums for that are going to start beating more significantly once the House comes back into session, because he won't have any excuse anymore.
I think so. I think he's just going to give the commutation to Ghislaine and be like, this is part of my plan to get criminals from foreign nations out of our country, a commuter sentence, and she can't ever come back to the United States or whatever crap thing. I mean, just pardon, what, 1,600 people, was it? It was a crazy amount of people.
I did see
1,600 January Sixers and then like another 20 of his lawyers.
Yeah. Somebody needs to fact check me on this because I have not examined this yet. So don't take this as gospel. I only saw like a BBC headline that said something to the effect of, the administration is allowing Ghislaine Maxwell to have access to like an emotional support puppy.
She is. Now,
Okay.
that's a fact.
That's good.
Tara Paul Mary brought this up like a couple months ago when she got switched to this prison. This prison has an in-house like dog training program for emotional support animals. It's one of the jobs that you can get. And originally she was banned from working with the animals, and now she's not. So now she just gets to play with puppies all day, and she has a personal guard that walks her to and from lunch, and they're, for her safety. So I like that. I just am sick over her, and her role in the Epstein thing is so vile and disgusting. And part of me is like, she doesn't deserve any of what she deserves, nothing but pain for the rest of her
No
life. And the
special
other part of me
treatment.
is like, I don't know if I would care so much if she was like deported, right? Like, she's living a perfectly fine life in the prison here, and she's still married, she still gets all the visitors and presents and whatever else she wants. Like,
So are you saying deportation would be better in your mind?
yeah, I think at this point, the back and forth and the re-traumatization of the victims and what we hear from like Tara's reporting on like how this is constantly in the news, as she's almost always getting out, is it's almost like rip off the Band-Aid if you're going to do it. But if you're going to do it, deport her. She can never come back to the United States, or she can never do whatever, because if she gets deported to the UK, she could be taken up on charges in the UK also. So, and they're much stricter over there. So it's like, I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it is a little galling. It's a
Yeah.
little galling when, she's done nothing to deserve special treatment.
No.
Nobody can make any claim that, oh, she was wronged by the
No,
criminal justice system. Oh, she really, like what an unfair prosecutor, targeted her because she was what, a British white woman? No.
no.
Do you know what I mean? Like she was not unfairly
She
targeted
wasn't a
by the
victim of Epstein. She didn't
no,
not know what was going on. She was the
no.
co-conspirator. She participated in many of these abuses. So,
Mhm. She
yeah.
did there's no argument you can make for, like, she didn't have adequate representation, like, none of those things appear to be remotely true, and if anything, she's just gotten, more and more and more special treatment. For what? Because why?
Like Maureen is saying in
Yeah.
here, no puppy for her. She does not deserve a puppy.
Mhm. No
Well,
dogs
Sharon,
for
I know
you.
you've got a big day. I appreciate you taking the time
Of
for
course,
us.
happy to do it. Always fun to see you.
For those who are even just joining right now, go back and watch live. I'm going to repost it now. Sharon breaks down for us what the process would be if somebody happened to be interested in removing the leader of their party, whichever party, any party. There
Mhm.
is a process. So,
Mhm. That's right. Good to see you, B.
you too. Thanks. We'll see
Yes,
you
I'll
later,
talk
Sharon.
soon. Okay, bye.